Hi guys, this is Eva from the book blog astripedermchair.wordpress.com, and I'm here to talk about yet another week's worth of library loot. So, I was really in an Asian mood this week for some reason. Almost all of the fiction that I put on reserve was written by an Asian author. It should be interesting. I don't usually read specifically to continents, and I think it'll be a fun experience. First up is Paradise of the Blind by Duong Thu Huong. Hopefully I didn't just murder that. She's a Vietnamese author, and this is about life for Vietnamese women in the 1970s under communism. I picked this off of my big list I have of translated works because I decided that I hadn't been reading enough translated literature lately. Then we have Everything Asian by Sung Woo. This, I read a review of it on Heather's blog, and it just sounded so good I popped over and put it on reserve. It's about a Korean family that immigrates to America. Then there's Mr. Muo's Traveling Couch by Dai Ciji. Once again, don't speak Chinese. I read his first book, Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress, a few years ago before I had a book blog. And I really liked parts of it and wasn't impressed with other parts of it. But the plot line of this one sounds really cool. A Chinese scholar returns home after studying Freud in Paris for years. And he travels around China and he sees a panda. I mean, how can you resist something with a panda in it? Also the cover, isn't that gorgeous? The cover of Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress was gorgeous too. I hope whoever designs his covers makes a ton of money. Then we have The Magical Life of Long Tak Sam, which is actually not fiction. It's an illustrated memoir by Anne-Marie Fleming. I wrote a review of this on Maggie's blog. She hosts the Southern Reading Challenge. And it's about China's greatest magician. I just finished reading a book about a magician, actually. Anyway, and it just sounded so interesting. What I was really excited to see was that it has pictures as well as cartoons, which I've never seen in a graphic memoir before. Do you like how I sound like I'm an expert on graphic novels? Anyway, and this blue is one of my very favorite colors. So, it definitely seems like a book for me. Then, and this is the last Asian book, we're going to Malaysia with Kampung Boy. That's the Malaysian word for village. Once again, don't speak Malaysian. By Lat, who is apparently one of Southeast Asia's most beloved cartoonists. I had read something about this somewhere, and then I saw that Claire had mentioned it as one of her favorite graphic novels, so of course I had to get it. I'm really excited. I haven't read international graphic novels. Well, I did with Aya, obviously, but that was pretty recently. So, and I've never read anything by a Malaysian author either. Then my last, well, actually not my last fiction, but the last one I'm going to talk about for now is Lucy the Giant, by Sherry Smith. I saw this over at Black Eyed Susan's Library Loot, and it sounded really interesting. Lucy is a 15-year-old who's like over 6 feet tall, living up in Alaska, and she decides to run away from home and become a fisherman. So, it's not a plotline that I've ever heard of before. And there was a really good review that was linked to, I can't remember where the blog was though. Okay, I looked it up after I had finished the blog, and it's the Happy Nappy Bookseller. So, that way you know where to find the review. And it's pretty short. I've been reading a lot of teen lit lately, so it should fit with my current reading mood. Okay, nonfiction time. My Invented Country, which is a memoir by Isabel Allende. This is for the World Citizen Challenge. I've been reading 2 books a month for it, and I still have only read 1 memoir, so I needed another one. Also for the World Citizen Challenge, Deep Economy by Bill McKibben. The Wealth of Communities and the Durable Future. Obviously, this is for the economics category. I really enjoy reading non-mainstream economics, since I took enough econ in college that I have a strong background, and I can kind of evaluate the arguments, and I think it's more interesting to read non-neoliberal theories. And my final nonfiction this time, I've been kind of, I don't want to say starving for nonfiction, but my library loot recently hasn't had a lot of it, so I kind of went a little crazy and put a lot of nonfiction on hold in the last few days, so next week you'll probably see me with almost all nonfiction. Anyway, it's called The Stars, and it is by the author of Curious George, H.A. Ray. It's a children's book, But I wanted it for the science book challenge because I have no clue how to identify constellations, and that's what this book is all about. So, hopefully, since it's a children's book, he'll get right down to business instead of giving me lots of things I don't need to know. And the cover is cool in an old-fashioned way. Do you like the enlarged to a worldwide edition? That makes me laugh. And finally, I got 2 books for the Classics Challenge, which I've only read 2 books in so far, and I have to read 6. First, The Complete Romances of Chrétien de Troyes. I really like the Middle Ages, but I don't read a lot of literature from then. I tend to read more historical fiction or just history. But he's considered the father of the Arthur stories, which I've always enjoyed reading, and it seems like this translation is really good. So I'm a little nervous because it's really, really big, so if I don't like it, that's a lot of book. But I've promised myself that if I really don't like it, I'll quit, which is difficult for me. And the very last one, Portrait of a Lady by Henry James on audiobook. It's unabridged. Yes, it is. I love Henry James's longer work. Not a big fan of the novellas, but The Ambassadors was awesome. And, of course, now I can't think of the other books of his that I've read, but I know that I enjoyed them. So I decided to get this on audiobook because I haven't had a new book on CD in a while, and I'm starting to get bored of listening to the ones that I own over and over again. So, hopefully the reader will have a good voice. And there you go. That's my library loot for the week. It was pretty small, only, I think, 11 books. So, hopefully you'll do library loot as well, and leave a link to your post at Mr. Linky. Marge, my new co-host, has the post up this week. And I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.